Should you buy the current, now legacy Model Y or the newly announced Model Y Juniper? Last week I discussed the Model 3 Highland versus the new Model Y Juniper, and a lot of people chimed in on why they actually went with the old Y instead. Exterior, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. It's very, very different. Thankfully though, it doesn't really change anything fundamental about the Model Y. It's pretty much all cosmetic. You're going from a more, as Franz said about the old 3, bubbly, rounded, baby fat look to a much more sleek, harder edges, boxy look, at least on the front. The headlights have been moved down, fog lights are now gone, and a light bar split into 3 sections has been added. Technically, the fog lights being removed would be a fundamental change, like you just don't have fog lights now, but as someone that's now been driving without fog lights for like the better part of like 8+ months since getting my new 3, I don't really miss it having had fog lights on my old 3. Like I've mentioned in past videos, I didn't immediately hate the new design for the Model Y, and it's actually been just growing on me the more and more that I see it. I honestly kind of like it, actually. I'm also happy to see that they kept the air slits on the front bumper for the non-performance versions, unlike the 3 where you only get air slits if you get the performance. I still think that the non-performance front bumper for the 3 looks a little weird without them. I don't know, maybe that's just me. As for the side profile, well, it's virtually identical. If you cut off the front and back on both the old and the new and put them side by side, like I would not be able to tell you the difference, excluding the mirrors. Juniper has a slight design difference on the caps. There's a slit looking indentation. I don't know if this is like something for aerodynamics or if it's just for looks, but it is something. As for the rear, it's the same story as the front. Less roundness, bubbly look, more harder edges, boxy looking. New taillight design with an integrated light bar that's actually not flat. If you look close, it curves into the trunk. The Tesla T is gone and replaced with lettering, and a beefier diffuser that extends all the way up to the bottom of the trunk lid and now houses the license plate. I will admit that there is a lot of empty space on the trunk now, which some people have said looks a little weird. However, after seeing some real life pictures, as it looks like Tesla has begun giving the new Model Y to like Chinese media and like social media people, it doesn't look as awkward in those real life pictures as it does in the renders. In fact, this seems to be the sentiment from most people that are getting to see it in person and seeing the pictures of it in person. It looks a lot better in those pictures than the promotional photos that we're getting straight from Tesla. Finally, for the exterior, the wheels, which are seeing a design update. The 19-inch crossflow is very similar to the Dark Gemini, as both are a wheel cap-like design and what you would go with for more range and better comfort. Whereas the 20-inch Helix 2.0s, just like the outgoing induction wheel, is the more premium, less range and comfort, but better looking option, or at least most people think that they're better looking. Though the Helix 2.0s are silver and not black, and well, if you've seen any of my past cars, I'm personally hoping that we see a black version of this wheel. As for the interior, while it is a pretty big change from the outgoing Y, it's essentially the same interior that we saw on the new 3 last year, so it doesn't really have that wow new factor like the exterior does. Updated seats, center console, screen, rear screen, lighting, steering wheel. Yeah, they pretty much Command C, Command V the Highland's interior, which to be honest is not a bad thing. I was a very big fan of the updated interior on the new 3. However, there are 2 distinct changes we see with the new Y that were not on the new 3. First is the stock situation. You're not losing both stocks going from the old Y to Juniper. You're only losing the gear selector stock. And considering how good auto shift is, or at least it's been for me, like it's been fantastic for me, this actually isn't that bad. Plus you can use a touchscreen, which is literally right next to where the gear selector stock was, like within inches, and you still have physical buttons above your head where the dome lights are. So yeah, your turn signal stock is not going anywhere. I actually saw a lot of people that were using that as a reason to buy a current Y, or one of the reasons that they had for buying a current Y and not waiting for Juniper is because they thought Juniper wasn't going to have stocks because the new 3 didn't. And well, here we are. And secondly is the power fold rear seats. Current Y is a manual with the release being in the rear, and in Juniper, the release is still there, still in the same spot. It's just now when the seats are down and you pull it, they'll come back up. And to be honest with you, this is a very nice and very overdue feature in a $40,000+ car. I never disliked the interior of the Y, but I definitely think Juniper's interior looks a lot better, more modern, and assuming it does use the same materials that we're seeing in the new 3, it's gonna be a lot more premium feeling. Now, I also wanna talk autopilot and full self-driving hardware, as that was actually a pretty big reason to wait for the new 3 versus getting the old 3, was because we knew that the new 3 was gonna have hardware 4. And well, that's not really the case with the Y, because well, Ys have had hardware 4 for a few years now. So yeah, there shouldn't be a noticeable difference, but there is a new camera on the front bumper. Cybertruck has this, but it only affects auto park, not autopilot or FSD, at least as of now. Nonetheless though, it is a front bumper camera, which is very nice to use as just a normal camera to be able to see what's in front of your car more clearly as you're maneuvering, low speed parking and whatnot. Ride, comfort, and noise is supposedly improved on the new Y as stated by Tesla. And seeing the improvements they made to the new 3 over the old 3, I'd say that, yeah, they have a pretty good track record at delivering when they say they've improved something. I've said this before, but I do think that the new Model Y Juniper will take the crown back from the Model 3 in terms of ride comfort, sound isolation, and just overall how smooth the car is on noisier roads. Charging speed is the same, and range will also more than likely be the same, or at least similar if the WLTP is to be believed, which it's actually not looking like it's a crazy number this time around, so I'm putting some faith into it being pretty accurate to the EPA rating. Same thing with speed and performance, but to be honest with you, if you're interested in speed and performance, like that's a big reason to buy, then you're probably holding out for the new Model Y performance. As for price, which is a big one, we're looking at around the same price. Mid 40s for the base and high 40s for the long range, and this excludes the $7,500 EV tax credit, which has actually been a very, very popular topic as of late. At the time that this video goes live, the EV tax credit is still in effect. You can still get the $7,500 off of eligible cars if you're an eligible buyer. And just like we saw with past vehicles losing the tax credit, I believe it was when we went into 2024 before they swapped from using LFP to NMC to get the tax credit back. Tesla had a big pop-up on the website and was informing customers of, oh, you have until this date to take delivery and to buy the car if you want the tax credit, which I believe we will see again if and or when the tax credit does end. So if you qualify for that $7,500 credit and it's a make it or break it for you, then you should probably go ahead and start planning accordingly if you don't want to risk it. However, something that everyone does qualify for is discounts, or more specifically, inventory price reductions. We are starting to see some inventory price reductions, mainly on like demo cars and whatnot, but still they are there and they do range from a few $100s to a few $1,000s. And if you combine the inventory discounts with the $7,500 EV tax credit, you're looking at upwards of $10,000 right off the purchase price of one of these cars. As for a reason why you would buy a Model Y over a Model 3, well, it's still the same for Juniper. Same seating position, ride height, ease of getting in and out, more room, all the same from the old Y to the new Y. I do think that the new Y does technically have a bit more space. I think it's upwards of like 3 cubic feet, but yeah, take that for what you will. So should you get the current Model Y or Model Y Juniper? And well, to answer that, you need to answer the following. Do you need a car right now? And do you qualify for the tax credit? And will not having said tax credit be a problem? And are you cool with not having all the new features? If you answered yes to all of that, then yeah, sure, go ahead and buy the current Model Y. It's a great vehicle, and there's a reason why it became the best-selling new car in the world. However, if you answered no to any of those questions, then to be honest with you, yeah, I would just wait for Juniper. You've already waited this long. You're getting a better, more updated vehicle that will get updates longer, hold its value better, and just be the cutting edge that Tesla offers for the Model Y. And if you truly are okay with getting the older one, then waiting actually still may be a better option, as just like we saw when the Model 3 Highland was revealed officially here in the States, the price discounts on the older one got even better. All right, so actually Tesla has just made the new Model Y available to be ordered. First and foremost, they are doing the launch series here in the States, and I believe they're doing it in Canada and Europe as well. The only trim available is the long-range all-wheel drive. It's $60,000, includes full self-driving and acceleration boost, plus you can fully option it without increasing the price. So you can get white seats, you can get the tow hook, you can get whatever paint color you want, whatever wheels you want. It stays at 60,000 USD. Along with all the other launch edition things like the rear badge, the badging on the wireless charger, you get like special textile like floor mats, door seals, lights. And lastly, they're estimating deliveries to begin in March, and it still qualifies for the $7,500 federal tax credit, bringing the effective price down to $52,500 if you qualify. And I'm not gonna lie, $52,500 for a like fully optioned out, because you might as well option it out like all the way, just get the most expensive paint, the most expensive wheels. Like if the price doesn't change, you might as well get your money's worth. For a fully spec'd out long range all-wheel drive FSD acceleration boost for $52,500, that's actually not a bad price. Considering if you were to add all those options on after the fact, it would be an additional like 5,000 to 6,000 over like the 10-ish thousand that you're paying for the launch series. Nonetheless though, they actually still are offering the Legacy Y alongside the new Y. Me personally, you already know I'm gonna be holding out for the Performance. Hopefully it doesn't take as long as it did for the Performance 3. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know if you're gonna be ordering the new Model Y now that it's available in the States. Like, do you think the launch edition for the higher price is worth it with all the goodies, or are you gonna be waiting for a non-launch edition at a cheaper price? If you are new around here and you wanna see more Tesla related stuff in your YouTube feed, fingers crossed not too long for the new Performance, then feel free to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.